Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Let's first make sure
that
the audio is fine.
And that was a clear no.
Well, I think it should be better now. Right. There we go.
Should
be better now. Right. There we go. Should be better now. Right. There we go. Should be better now. Right. There we go. Should be better now. Right. There we go. Should be better now. Right. There we go. Should be better now. Right. There we go. Should be better now. Right. There we go. Should be better now. Right. There we go. Should be better now.
Let's test that again. Okay, that seems much better.
Test.
Test. Okay, so I don't get a feedback anymore, so that's good. Right, perfect. Okay, so let's start today's stream. Thank you everyone for joining so far, and let's see who we do pick up on the way. We're going to play Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. This is a game about designing ships and fighting with these ships, and I am very excited because we are going to play the Naval Academy today, and we are going to play one of the most interesting setups that there is, and that is the scenario There Can Only Be One. Create a battleship of the 1940s based on the legendary Iowa class and send it into combat against the mighty foe, a battleship resembling the Yamato class. The enemy might retreat if overwhelmed, so speed and radar will be very important aspects of your design. I think that is very interesting because that is going to be the ultimate setup against very different battleships over here. The Iowa class, based on 1940s design, that's stretching it a little bit. I think it was designed in 1939. And the Yamato, one of the biggest battleships ever of all times. So let's see whether we can design a battleship that can go against the Yamato and whether we will actually be successful in doing so. Right, we do have two different choices here to start with. We can choose our bonus first, either boost technology or get more funds. I think we're going to go for more technology, so we're going to try to build the best battleship here that we can. So let's start doing that and see what we can do. And we're going to start here with a completely new design. And that should hopefully be okay. Let's just dial down that a little bit, and there we go. Right, so this is the starting place. This is just the hull that we are designing here. And I don't know why in this scenario we are building obviously a British ship, but we are building that on an Iowa design. Let's see whether we can do that and what is going to happen over here. So this is first and foremost the bare hull, and you can see there's just basically nothing on that. We only have this single hull available to us, so let's go to the next thing, the modern tower over here. And we can just place that on top of this, and it really fits in nicely. It's a little bit like almost a Kerbal Space Program, which I do like, and it already looks a little bit more like a ship. We're going to add another thing here, and that is a tower. So let's see what we have available here. This is the first time we do actually need to make a choice. And the big items that you can see over here, and where we do need to start to talk a little bit about the UI, is this up here. So firstly, the first thing is we need to pick the different various weights over here. You can see the modern secondary tower 1 has a weight of just 1,000 tons. This one here would have 4,500 tons. So much more capable, but also much heavier weight. And that is, of course, a trade-off that we do need to pick over here. I think we're going to go for this one. And the reason for that is, if you do look at the various positive attributes over here, so these modern secondary towers here are fine. They're good. And principally, they do give you good base accuracy and good aiming speed, but I do want to go for the long-range accuracy. Our strategy is going to build a ship with long-range capabilities, and we're going to put that on top of this over here. and it's starting to look a little bit like a proper ship. One thing that a ship does definitively need is a funnel, just to vent basically the gases. We've got two funnels available to us. There is the mega funnel number 1 or 2, 2 or 3. I do think we're going to go for the slightly heavier one over here. Going to start with that. Going to put it just right up there. That's not going to be enough. If we do look on the various stats of the ship that we have got on the right-hand side over here, we do need a little bit more than that, because currently you can see the engine efficiency here is pretty low. That's 38%, and that does basically mean that our engines don't necessarily perform as well as we would expect them to, simply because they don't have the exhaust capabilities that they ultimately will need. There are going to be some modifiers to that, so we're not going to care for that too much right now, but we might later on revisit this, and I think that's going to be all right. Good. So that's already a very decent looking ship, I suppose, but it's not quite enough. Of course, we do need some guns, and we do want to go for big guns over here. So let's have a look at the Centerline guns that are available to us. You can see it ranges from 9-inch guns all the way to 20-inch guns even. And that's pretty big guns. Obviously, the advantage of the 9-inch guns is they're going to be much lighter than the heavier ones. On the other hand, the heavier guns do have a couple of other advantages. They have better penetration. That is the table that you can see popping up here. And that is going to be important, because if we're going to go against the Yamato, which I think had historically like something like around 16-inch belt armor, we do definitively need a large gun. Basically, something that can penetrate 16 inches horizontally. That's always the first number behind the things over here. I'm guessing, I don't know that, but I'm guessing we're going to be sitting at a range of 15,000 meters, so 15 kilometers. And we do want to look at the last number in this column at that range, basically. And that is the accuracy at that range. And you can see it varies by caliber here. 18-inch guns do have a very bad actual hit range there. So I think we could go for a slightly, let's say the 17-inch guns do look pretty good to me. They have a very decent accuracy here at 15,000 meters, and at 12,500 too. They do a lot of damage. We could also think about 16 caliber guns. That is what was historically on the Iowa. But I do think just there must be damage. You can see this is 860. This is 1,100, so almost 50% more. And that, I think, is a good choice here for us to do. Of course, it does fire a little bit less frequently, but it is more accurate, so I think that's going to be fantastic. And we can pick this caliber. Next choice is, how many guns do we want to put onto each turret? Of course, the more guns we are going to put on that, the more shells we can put up in the air simultaneously. Nevertheless, rate of fire is going to go down a little bit, accuracy as well, because basically the propellants do influence one another as they are coming out of their barrels. So I think the 3-barreled guns here are going to be a very nice compromise, and we're going to stick a gun up here. We're going to stick a secondary turret up there, and then we're going to stick one turret there into the rear. And this is, of course, already a very viable ship. And of course, honestly, I think a very, very sleek and nice looking ship. We don't need anything else on that. That is a completely fine ship. But we do want to add certain things to that. This is not enough. We do want to add to that. So first thing is, we can add secondary guns, so slightly smaller caliber guns. These are primarily there to fend off gunboats and stuff. So honestly, in this scenario, we don't really need them. Can we do this? Yeah, we could add a couple of 4-inch guns. They're really not that required, but we might as well do them. Okay, you know what? Let's go for 3-inch guns. They're not that they don't add that much weight, but I do think it's nice to just get on a couple of these guys here, just for the optics, really, and because I do like the idea of building a ship that is at least somewhat realistic and not just, build it for the very specific sort of circumstances that we are encountering here. Is there any other reasonable place where I could put some of these guys? You can sometimes put them weirdly on the frontier in this game, but honestly, I don't think that's nice. I do like them sort of on these things. So that's already a nice addition. We don't really need more than that, though. We could, of course, add torpedo launches and stuff like that. I don't think that's too realistic. We are building something about 1940s technology, and in 1940s technology, this is really not what you're doing anymore. It was really the case earlier, so I think that's going to be fine. We will need to deal with this over here. So currently, this is a little bit front heavy, but we'll think about that later on. We are currently in the weight restriction, so basically we are placing a hull here of 71,000 tons, and we are only filling 60,000 of that. The costs are 65 million out of the 165 that we can afford, so we can definitely dial this up. We could also just build 2 ships. That's perfectly viable, but you know what? I do want this to be a juggernaut battle, so 1 versus 1 ship. So we're going to make the best ship here that we can. I'm pretty happy about this basic setup here. So this is going to be the raw design. And now we need to look at the left-hand side over here and things that we can do here. Now, the first thing that I do like to tend to look at is the components thing. And that is basically you can add propulsion, protection, armament, and equipment modifiers here. And these are going to be very important. The first thing I do want to add is radar. Radar does give us a great advantage here, especially gun aiming speed and long range accuracy. So that is going to be super important. It does increase tower spotting too, but it's also going to increase the costs here by a very significant margin. The same is going to be true for the rangefinder, and we're going to go for the best one that we have. They're basically always 2 variants, the C and the S variant. The C variant does give you base accuracy, the S variant gives you long range accuracy. I think we're going to go for the long range accuracy here, and that does already bring us above 83 million, which does mean we're now only going to build 1 of these ships. But that's fine, that's what we need. I don't think we need a radio, basically because we do not, this is not a fleet battle, this is a one-on-one, so we don't really need to be concerned about that. Acoustics, we could go for a little bit here, that would increase our torpedo spotting range, but then again, I don't really think that this battle is going to be about torpedoes. Let's move our way up over here and see what else we've got. We've got torpedo sizes, that won't matter too much, but we've got the reloading here, and I do think we want to go for an auto reloader. That does decrease gun reloading time by a very, very significant margin, and it will allow us to put out much more damage. The downside is traverse speed is going to go down. That's not that important because we're going to be very far away from our target. And being very far away means your turrets don't really need to move that fast. So that's going to be alright. Hull speed increase and all of the gun costs and weight costs, that is going to be an issue, but we do have some room here to play around with that. We could take these things and just increase our turret traverse speed, but again, it's not really that important. What is going to be important is what are we going to use as a propulsion to basically propel our shells out of the barrels. You can see there are various options here. Currently, we have selected Lyddite 2. Now, this is a good propellant because it is, well, it's relatively safe and it does increase high explosive shell damage. That's fine, but we are going up against a battleship, so we don't really need high explosive shell damage. What we do need is penetration. And you can see there's a very big negative modifier on that. So we're instead going to either go for white powder here. As you can see, better gun range, better penetration, better shell damage. That's pretty nice. Or we could actually go for high power TNT. That does decrease our hull weight. Very nice. Does increase shell penetration. That's also good. And shell damage. So I think this is what we're going to go here. Again, costs are going to go up very significantly. So that's slightly bad, but I think it's going to be all right. Ammo, I think we're going to be fine. We could pick more shells. I don't think we need to. We could also pick slightly heavier shells here. And that might be interesting because it would increase shell damage. And that is kind of nice. But it would decrease shell muzzle velocity, which indirectly does affect our accuracy. And it would just make it much more likely that we would have some problem. Penetration and damage is interesting. I don't think we're going to go for that. We're going to go for standard shells over here. And that does basically conclude the armament. Let's look at the protection. We do have the Citadel. So basically, sort of the all-or-nothing armor scheme basically increases your armor strength at the cost of increasing, well, the cost and the weight. But it does give you Very, very good protection. So that is indeed what we're going to do. Massively driving up costs over here. We're going to also provide some anti-flooding protection here. Basically better pumps and better ship repairs. So that's going to be all right. It's again increasing weight and all of that. We're also going to go for reinforced bulkheads and basically just make it a lot harder for to sink our ship. Speaking of, we're also going to increase the quality of our armor. So from crop armor 1 all the way to crop armor 4. The newest crop type armor is lighter, stronger, and more cost effective. So it's going to increase cost, but it is also going to increase armor strength. So we definitely want to use that. You can see we are driving up costs here very significantly, but I think it is fine. We're also going to go for slightly better or much better advanced propeller shafts, better speed penalty and accuracy. We're going to also go for some auxiliary engines simply to increase water pumping and all of that. So that should be all right. In terms of the engine, I do think we should potentially go for diesel too, because I do think, yeah, it does decrease weight and costs. So that's going to be very nice. And lastly, I do think we want to go for oil instead of semi-oil. Floatability comes down a little bit. That's an issue, but we don't have as much smoke interference, so that's nice to see. And it will just decrease our weight a little bit. So I think that's a good choice here. Right, so that is basically settling most of it. We could go for anti-torpedo defenses. We could go for double bottom seal or something like that. I don't think we need to. I think we are fine in that regard. So let's keep that as is. And that does mean, excuse me, that does mean we can now pick up a couple of other things over here in the top. And that is, I think the speed should go up a little bit. Historically, Iowa had a speed of 30 knot almost. And that is something that maybe we should have done earlier, simply because it can sometimes inform you about a couple of these choices here. Especially, let's compare Diesel 3 or Diesel 2 to gas turbines 2. And just keeping an eye on this over here. So weight comes down dramatically at a significant cost in financial terms. But I do think that might be the better choice here. But let's keep an eye on that. Let's also keep an eye on the engine efficiency. It's very, very bad for now. So that is something that we should take into account. We could increase the boilers here, and that does have an effect on engine efficiency. The best one would probably be forced boilers here. And that's all right. We do have 77% engine efficiency now. So if we could increase that just to scooch, that might be useful. I also do think we want to go for slightly more bulkheads. We don't need to go all the way, but more bulkheads are typically very useful. So engine efficiency is something that we still need to fine tune, but we do have quite a bit of weight and cost left over here. So I think what we're going to do is we are going to increase our armor for that. And to do that, I think since we're going to fight a very long range engagement, I do want to increase the topside armor. So deck armor and turret armor. I think we can go for very comfortable 9-inch armor over here. The extended deck could go to 16 inches. I think the conning tower, so basically the command center, does warrant some more armor. And definitely the turret, I think, should be protected quite well. We still have quite a bit of room left to do things over here. So let's actually go for 10-inch deck armor, which is pretty drastic. And probably we can even go to 7-inch deck armor over here. Remember, our armor is pretty strong. So, excuse me, might actually go for 12-inch turret armor over here. Our weight and costs are coming up to the point where it's probably going to be an issue soon. I think we can go for slightly more belt armor and slightly more extended belt armor as well. That's interesting. We are very close to both of these categories here, so that is in principle pretty fine. I don't think we need to change that up too much. But one thing that we do still need is to think about our funnels. So we've got one funnel over here. We could actually live with this type of engine efficiency. If the funnel capacity really is not sufficient at the moment, but could go for different funnels over here. Funnel weight, funnel cost, engine cost, boiler weight, and engine cost. I think this would actually drive us up over the limits, would it? No. Yeah, let's go for the forced, and I think we're going to live with that type of engine efficiency. It's going to mean that we're going to have a harder time achieving our top speeds and acceleration and all of that, but I still think it's going to be alright, and that does give us more weight to play around with other things over here. And indeed, I do think we're just going to increase the deck armor to the point where we are basically going to match all of these capabilities here. We can probably edge out a little bit more. We can probably increase the displacement here just by a scooch. No, the costs are going to drive up too much. So let's make sure that the costs here are in order. There we go. Yeah, that's probably just as good as we can do this. Right, I think this is fine. Okay, now, last fine-tuning that we do need to do is the forweight offset here of 6.5%. So basically, the front of our ship is too heavy. That's not nice. Let's dial this back a little bit. 2.8%. Now, that is much better. Can we drive this back a little bit? 2.8, 1.9, 1.4, 0. You know what? That's fine. Good. I think below 1% is generally fine. So we're going to launch that and see whether we can win against Yamato over here. So hopefully our ship design did not have any glaring mistake. Here we go. We are the Russian Empire. Okay, interesting, because I think we designed a British ship. And we're going to go against the Empire of Japan. So a little bit like the Battle of the Tunguska Strait. Here we are. This is our ship, and before we get into this, we can see that there's ships to the southwest, so basically in this direction over here. So we're more or less going that way. That's fine. And here is our ship in this beautiful, well, evening, I guess, if this is the southwest, and we vaguely see the sun setting over there. Big guns and very little else except for great armor and some other things. So let's set sail towards the southwest. We're going to go into that direction there. We're currently going the 30 knots that our ship is designed to do, but we're probably going to soon dial that down as soon as we do find the enemy somewhere over there in that direction. Let's accelerate time here a little bit, because this is probably not the most exciting, and see whether we can find them in this direction. I don't want to turn too much into that direction, because these ships do take an awful long time to bring around. And if we're directly sailing towards the enemy, basically our rear turret here is not going to be able to fire at the enemy. So yeah, I do want to avoid that a little bit. Right, and just excuse me for a second. There we go. Sorry, just taking care of the dog there. Right, let's see. Do we find the enemy here? We do have 5 hours to do that. Of course, don't want to spend 5 hours. But let's see about that in the general vicinity here of the southwest. Yeah, the enemy must be somewhere around here. They might actually be running, in which case it is going to be very difficult to actually hunt them down. Nevertheless, we do still have 6 guns pointing to that direction. Right then, we do need to find them, though. Somewhere in the southwest. Oh, there we go. Right. So, we have spotted something here for a very short while. Let's sail directly into this direction and see what we have got over here. So, I'm going to deselect our ship and see what they have got. They're sailing towards us. That's good to know. And they have quadruple turrets. That's interesting. That does mean they're going a little bit beyond the historical scope here, because these are just gigantic turrets. Look at that. 4 guns pointing from each of these things and this thing up over there. And they've got a hell of a lot of secondary and tertiary guns. I can't quite read the caliber of these things, and so I'm not sure just how big these guns are. And it looks a little bit... I mean, this is kind of a bit of a silly design, but fair enough. There we go. Oh, this actually looked like a little bit of a hit there. And we didn't do that much damage, but it was glancing off and I guess ricocheting. But it was almost a hit, so that is very nice to see that our big shells there are making some progress. Now, we do know that they are sailing towards us, and we have very heavily optimized our ships against a long-range engagement. So what we're going to do is we're going to sail slightly to the side over here, simply to do a couple of things. Firstly, to open up our rear turret to also engage with them. Right now, it's only our front turrets that are shooting, and there you can go. There you can see. Just pause here for a second. Just look at this, how beautiful this is, and basically how it obliterates the view of the ship itself. So that is kind of nice, and you can also see one of our 17-inch shells has actually already hit them and done some over-penetration. You can see some worrying thing, and that is they are shooting back now. So that looks like 4 shells at the very least have already been fired, and I do think this other gun here can shoot very quickly. Our hit seems to have caused some damage here on the forecastle, so that is very nice and fantastic. So great. Let's actually dial this down a little bit. Right. There we go. They are on fire. That's probably going to be extinguished in a second there. Let's actually return to our flagship here and see what is going to happen. Now, again, we are making this turn. We're going to open our rear gun for one thing, and on the other hand, we are keeping up the distance a little bit towards this ship. So we do want to prevent them from coming in too quickly. Now, it seems like we have lost contact with them, so I don't want to completely... No, can still see them, just the game pretty... doesn't want to render them at a distance of 25 kilometers, which is a very, very, very long distance. Yeah, but you can see just on average, our shells will be missing so much. But look at them. They have got 12 guns that can potentially fire at us. And that is much more than our 9 guns, of course. And I'm afraid that their caliber might be very similar to ours. So I think we probably cannot do more damage than they can. We need to be confident that our quality is higher, that the quality of our guns is better than theirs. Let's see whether that is going to be the case. Other than that, of course, we did spend a lot of the weight. Oh, there's another hit there, but only 16 damage points. That means these guys are enormous, extremely well armored. If only that little of our shells is actually causing damage there. Although we are achieving some over-penetration, which basically means that we are hitting them and sort of passing through the ship before actually getting any hit. Well, let's see about that. Our shells are going their direction. Our rear turret here is very slowly coming into action, at least somewhat. That's going to be alright. But they are definitively shooting as well. We do have a very decent hit chance here, actually, of 11%. That's a very good chance to hit. We haven't really identified them yet, but we do know that they are shooting big guns at us. And unfortunately, so many more than we have pointed at them right now. I really do hope that our rear turret here is going to come into action very soon. We have dialed down on the speed a little bit, simply so that we get the bonus here of like locked own maneuver. Yeah, we should get a bonus soon at around 24 knots at least. That should give us a bonus. Yeah, but it doesn't look like we're doing that much here. Oh, no. Look at that. They are also turning around to bring their rear gun into action, so that is a bit of an issue. Maybe we might have caused some damage here on the first turret, and you can see this is the area where we did the second hit there. I don't know how well the game models this, but if these were real hits, that would be quite dangerous because it's very obviously quite close to where the gunpowder is stored and all of that. And look at that, all of these guns are coming back into action as they have been reloaded, I think. So probably very soon we're going to see them launch another salvo against us over here. Nevertheless, we have launched another one, but they have hit us. That is not great. While we were over there, you can see we've got one hit here by an 18-inch shell. They actually have much, much bigger shells than we have. They have 18-inch shells. We have only 17-inch shells. Not great. And remember, these things go with a... not with a square, but with a cubic law, basically. So, yeah. Not good. They've actually caused 7% damage here to our structure and 2% against our floating damage. And there's a little bit of fire that has just been extinguished. We've got a little bit of ingress of water. That's not good, but probably we're going to put that out soon enough. But already this is not going very great for us, I have to say. For now, this is pretty horrible, actually, because we are facing off against a lot of guns over here, and they are doing a lot of damage here. 12% damage already on us. That is quite horribly bad. We haven't really gotten around to identifying them yet, but we definitely want to keep open our range. We definitely want to go as straight as we can potentially get, simply so that our guns are very steady, but they are accurate. They are incredibly accurate over here. And at 20 kilometers, we are doing... It seems we are doing a lot less damage. Just if you would watch just how much damage we are doing with each hit and how much they are doing, this is not going great for us. So this is kind of horrible, actually. Let's see whether we can do something. We've got some engine damage here. That's also not great. But I would hope that our auxiliary power and all of the things that we did should give us some hope here. What is interesting, they are still hitting the deck. Sorry, the belt sometimes. I would have expected that at these ranges. Wow, we are being torched over here. This is just not going great. But we did. Oh, wait a second there. You can see just for a second there, you could see they have suffered some damage there as well, and they are now suffering flooding. We don't know too much where and all of that. We've basically not identified them enough, but we have caused some damage. It looks like they are around, they might be around 80% or so structural integrity. We are around 60, so yeah, definitely not great. But let's see what we can do. And we have more water ingress, so things are not going great for us. Our speed is still kind of high, actually. I don't know why our speed is so high. We should see that fall down to a much more meaningful way. Right, and they still manage to put out a lot more shells than we do, so that's not great. I would have hoped that our accuracy is so much better due to the radar and all of that, but it just doesn't seem to be the case, and that is a bit of an issue. Right, let's accelerate time here. Let's see who's going to score more hits faster. I guess we can open up the range a little bit, or at least keep it near where we want it to be. We don't want to get too close here, because I expect that would be very detrimental towards us. Yeah, we did score a hit there, but it's not a meaningful one. They're still most certainly doing better than we are, so that's not great. Our flotation damage here, at least this is coming back up as our pumps are kicking back into action, so that's good to see. But with this structural integrity and this amount of shells that they are able to put out there, that's just not looking good. A little bit lucky there. That could have easily hit us. We should be scoring a lot of hits here. There's a hit with flooding and fire. That's good. Anything that does cause flooding damage is prone to making them a little bit less stable and a little bit, yeah, you can see our damage and stability here is pretty high already. So yeah, we are suffering more than they are. And they apparently had a stronger basis to start from. So that's not great. Nevertheless, we do have guns that should be shooting marginally faster because of all of the bonuses that we did put on there, and because they are slightly lower caliber, and that does mean we should be causing more hits here than they are. But whenever they do hit, they're doing an awful lot of damage. And that is because they are very, very easily causing penetrations over here. Whereas we... Yeah, well, I mean, we are also causing penetrations here. But... Ooh, look at that. That's a good one. That was a good hit there. I don't know what exactly happened, but we did hit them somewhere where it really hurt. Mid-bell penetration, lots of damage here caused by at least 2 of our shells at the same time. That does bring them down, and it did start some fires. We still don't know where and everything, but that is nice. Still, a lot of shells on their way to us, so that is definitely something for concern. And 2 of our engines have actually collapsed, so that is not great. And we are being hit again, 46% damage now. That is really big issue here because of the flooding and structural damage. Nevertheless, we did cause another hit over here. They might be down to, I want to call that 55% or so. Structural integrity. So, still better than us. And I have no reason to believe that this is going to get better, but look at their flotation, though. Actually, their flotation is much worse. That is interesting. We did cause more damage there, or our pumps are better. So that's good to see. We do need to... It's still flooding, so this is still coming down, which is not good on our side. But so it is for them, which is interesting. It seems to be going down further, so they might just have skimmed on the pumps a little bit. Here we go, 32% damage. 32% structural integrity now. That is just horrible. And there's a fire burning in a couple of these compartments. This is just not good. This is just... But look at their flotation. We might, maybe, just maybe they did... Maybe they didn't pay enough money at one place where it would have really been interesting. So if they don't have good pumps, and if they have not good bulkheads and all of that, this flooding might do it for them. I don't know whether we can hold out long enough, but it's good to see also that they are seemingly withdrawing a little bit, which does mean that probably their front guns are not going to be in action to the same extent. Nevertheless, here come the shells. We're down to 32%, so we might lose very, very quickly over here in just a couple of seconds. Ooh, yeah, there we go. More flooding, more fire. Just not good for us. Just not good. But they're flooding. Look at that. I think they're going down. My friends, I think this is a fantastically close fight over here. But man, oh man, I think they're going down. We haven't really identified them yet, but they are coming down here. And indeed, heavy flooding it is. And we did manage to sink them. That is fantastic. I would not have expected that. That is very, very lovely to see. So, that being said, guys, very happy to have done the first stream here with you. I know it's been a little bit of low attendance. No questions, but still, cool to see that. Thank you so much for watching this, and I do hope to see you around at some time. Bye-bye, guys.